Frank Sinatra was the voice of a generation, a master of cool, class, and control. But behind the smooth tuxedo and velvet voice was a shadow he could never quite shake: the Mafia. For decades, rumors swirled. About favors owed, about friendships too close, about deals made behind closed doors. And while Sinatra always denied the worst of it, the evidence piled up. FBI files, secret meetings, political favors. At one point, the scandal nearly destroyed everything he'd built. This is the story of how America's greatest crooner found himself entangled with organized crime, and how close it all came to bringing him down. Sinatra's rise from Hoboken, New Jersey to the heights of stardom wasn't just about talent. It was also about connections. In the 1940s, he needed gigs fast. Enter the Copacabana, the Paramount, and the Sands Hotel, venues with known Mafia influence. His early ties to guys like Willie Moretti, a New Jersey mobster with real power, gave him access others couldn't buy. Moretti helped him break into radio, smooth over bad deals, and even intimidate rivals. Sinatra always said it was just friendship, but those friendships had names and rap sheets. And from the start, the mob saw Sinatra as more than a singer. They saw an investment. In one of the most persistent mob legends, Sinatra allegedly used mob connections to get out of his contract with bandleader Tommy Dorsey in 1942. Dorsey wouldn't let him go, until suddenly he did. Rumor has it that a couple of mobsters made Dorsey an offer he couldn't refuse. Some say he was threatened at gunpoint. Dorsey himself joked years later, "They gave me a deal I had to take." Sinatra always denied Mafia involvement, but the story stuck, and whether true or not, it marked him. From that point on, people stopped asking if Sinatra was connected. They started asking how deep it went. As Sinatra's fame grew, so did the government's curiosity. In 1947, the FBI opened a file on him, one that would eventually swell to over 1,200 pages. It included everything from wiretaps and surveillance to reports of his visits with known mobsters like Sam Giancana and Lucky Luciano. Agents tracked his movements, monitored his political ties, and flagged every whisper of organized crime. Sinatra insisted it was all nonsense, but the Bureau wasn't convinced. To them, he was a potential liaison, someone who could move between Hollywood, Washington, and the underworld. Whether he was guilty or not, he had their full attention. Sinatra's residency at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas made him a legend. But the Sands wasn't just a stage. It was mob turf. Mob-controlled unions ran the hotels. Mob money built the casinos. And the Rat Pack's heyday was backed by bosses behind the scenes. Sinatra partied with made men, hosted fundraisers, and allegedly vouched for mobsters' character. He knew who was really pulling the strings, and he didn't seem to mind. His connections gave him power, but they also painted a target on his back. To the FBI, the Sands wasn't entertainment. It was a front, and Sinatra was in the center of it. In 1947, Sinatra traveled to Havana with several high-profile mobsters, including Lucky Luciano. It was a trip that raised every possible red flag. Havana was a known Mafia playground. Prostitution, gambling, drugs, and politics, all under one humid roof. The FBI later confirmed that Sinatra stayed at the Hotel Nacional and partied with the upper echelon of organized crime. When the photos surfaced, Sinatra claimed it was just a vacation, but it wasn't a good look. The U.S. government was already eyeing mob influence in Cuba, and Sinatra, knowingly or not, was now part of the dossier. One of Sinatra's most infamous friendships was with Sam Giancana, the Chicago boss of the outfit. They were seen dining together, sharing hotel suites, and attending private parties. Giancana wasn't subtle. He was tied to murders, vote rigging, and CIA-backed plots against Fidel Castro. Sinatra brought him into the Kennedy orbit, hoping to bridge Hollywood and politics. It backfired. After Sinatra introduced Giancana to JFK's inner circle, the administration panicked. They cut ties fast. Sinatra was furious, but the damage was done. His name was now linked not just to music or movies, but to one of the most dangerous men in America. Frank Sinatra helped get John F. Kennedy elected in 1960. throwing fundraisers, singing at rallies, and using every ounce of star power he had. But after the election, things shifted. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy cracked down hard on organized crime. And when the media began digging into Sinatra's friendship with mobsters, the Kennedys distanced themselves. JFK canceled a planned visit to Sinatra's Palm Springs home and stayed with Bing Crosby instead. Sinatra reportedly smashed the guest house he'd built for the president in a rage. For the first time, his mob ties weren't just personal. They had political consequences, and they hurt. In the early 1960s, Sinatra tried to become part owner of the Cal Neva Lodge, a casino straddling the California-Nevada border. But when the Nevada Gaming Commission found out Giancana had visited the property, Sinatra's license was revoked. He was forced to sell his shares. The message was clear: Sinatra was too close to the wrong people. The incident embarrassed him deeply. He blamed the FBI, the Kennedys, even the media. But the truth was harder to shake. His glamorous image had taken a real-world hit. And in the eyes of the government, he was now more than a performer. He was a liability. Sinatra always denied being in the Mafia. In interviews, he called the rumors gossip and garbage. He joked about knowing guys who knew guys, but insisted he was no criminal. Yet even his closest friends admitted Sinatra liked power, and the Mafia gave him access to a kind of influence Hollywood alone couldn't provide. His lawyers worked overtime to keep his image clean. His PR team buried stories, threatened tabloids, and managed damage control with surgical precision. But behind closed doors, the suspicion never really left. No matter how many albums he sold, those rumors were always part of the music. After Sinatra's death in 1998, the FBI released over 1,200 pages of files detailing their decades-long surveillance. The documents didn't prove he was a mobster, but they showed just how seriously the government had taken the rumors. Names, places, conversations, many still redacted. What the files reveal is a man constantly watched, constantly investigated, and constantly surrounded by figures the Bureau labeled dangerous. Sinatra may have denied everything, but the paper trail remains, and it paints a portrait of a man who lived in the overlap of fame, politics, and underworld power, where everything was negotiable and nothing was ever fully clean. For most stars, even a hint of organized crime would be a career ender. But Sinatra wasn't like most stars. He survived scandal after scandal because he was Frank Sinatra. The voice, the charisma, the defiance. Audiences loved him more for his edge. The mob rumors didn't break his image. They became part of it. Dangerous, loyal, untouchable. He turned whispers into myth. And by the time his FBI file dropped, fans didn't care. They'd heard the rumors, and they loved him anyway. Sinatra didn't just survive the scandal. He wore it like a perfectly tailored suit. So, was Sinatra in the Mafia? Officially, no. But was he close to it? Absolutely. He walked the line between artist and outlaw, legend and liability. He made deals in back rooms, raised toasts with made men, and called senators from casino phones. He never apologized, never flinched. And maybe that's why he still fascinates us. Because Sinatra wasn't just a voice. He was a contradiction, soft ballads, hard edges, secrets behind the swagger. And somewhere in those shadows, between the spotlight and the smoke, he left behind a story Hollywood could never quite control. Frank Sinatra's life wasn't clean, but it was unforgettable. He walked with presidents and partied with mobsters, sang love songs, and lived like a godfather. If this side of Sinatra surprised you, like, comment, and subscribe to Silver Screen Secrets. We uncover the hidden truths behind Hollywood's legends, the rumors, the risks, and the realities they never wanted you to know. Because sometimes the real drama happens offstage.